BoxingVoice.com live here with Steven Espinoza. So, Steven, you've been getting a lot of heat for the Garcia-Salka fight. People kind of upset that Lamont Peterson.
The Mayweather? I thought we were talking about Mayweather.
Well, today we will be.
Okay.
But I'm trying to give you the opportunity to defend yourself because
I have plenty of opportunity, but I haven't been talking about it. I just thought we were at a Mayweather press conference, so I thought.
I mean, well, if you want to talk Mayweather, okay, let's. No.
You led with it. Let's go with it.
Let's do Mayweather. In the last fight with Mayweather, I'll go back to it. But since we're on Mayweather, in the last fight with Mayweather, it was alleged that Maidana got paid $1.5 million for not being able to wear his gloves. Is there any truth to that?
No idea. Any deal like that is distinctly between the fighters, and I'd never know about it.
Is there going to be any negotiations for those gloves this fight so that there isn't any last-minute mess-ups?
You know, again, the deals on the gloves are between promoters and fighters. I never see those contracts, so I don't know how it's been resolved.
Mayweather's last two pay-per-view fights, well, not the Canelo, clearly that one broke records, but the Guerrero and the Maidana, the numbers have come out kind of slowly and have done under 1 million. Is there any pressure on the network to get those numbers back where they need to be?
Just curious, how do you know they've been under 1 million?
ESPN reported that there was 850,000.
Okay. Well, actually, numbers have not been released. You know, so there are actually a very small circle of people who know what the numbers are, and that's intentional. You know, and it largely came out of the May 3rd fight, where we had the most competitive and exciting, entertaining bout probably of Mayweather's career, certainly the toughest of his career, and yet, you know, in the aftermath, all people wanted to talk about was pay-per-view buys. So the reality is, I think it's negative for the event. You know, it's negative for the sport. It's negative for our company. You know, and when people don't really fully understand the complexities of the pay-per-view deal, they draw conclusions that aren't merited, and they spread misinformation.
But don't you think that it's warranted because Mayweather claims to be a pay-per-view star and the #1 pay-per-view star and boast about his numbers? So, of course, generally, the public wants an answer right away. As soon as the fight's over, we want to know what's going on because this guy is saying, I'm the #1 pay-per-view star, I sell more pay-per-views than anyone, and he makes demands.
Right, and there's no question. You know, there's only one fighter in history that, you know, has done over 2 million pay-per-views twice, and that's documented. There's no question he's the #1 pay-per-view star. You know, regardless of whether we release numbers and on Mayweather Maidana 1 or not, you know, there's really not an issue, you know, as to, you know, his past performance and the fact that he does bigger gates, he does more buys, you know, he generates more attention than any other boxer in the sport.
It just seems strange that the numbers get released when he does well and not when he does bad.
They got released when he set a record. We also released numbers back on the Guerrero fight, you know, and the perception on that one, incorrect as it was that it wasn't, you know, it wasn't necessarily a huge success. So I would take issue with your characterization. I think what we saw, you know, in the May fight, you know, and our decision, you know, not to release the numbers has nothing to do with the performance itself, but rather the dynamic that's being created. And the dynamic that's being created is that people are too focused on it. I understand he generates some of the discussion because of his persona, you know, but when we have a fight that is that entertaining, that exciting, and, you know, the only thing that people talk about after the fact is the pay-per-view buys, then, you know, it seems like there's something wrong.
Well, in this fight, you have the upper hand because, of course, Maidana put on an awesome performance. He definitely was raised around the ring as if he won. Most believe that. Many experts think it was 8-4 Mayweather or 7-5 Mayweather, but there's going to be a lot more build-up for this fight. So what are you expecting it to do?
I'm expecting it to pick up right where it left off. I mean, what we have typically seen in the past is that by the later rounds, Mayweather's cruising, and he establishes a dominance. He kicks into rhythm and dominates the last half of the fight. That wasn't the case in this fight. Some people felt that Mayweather won comfortably. Others thought it was a slimmer margin. You know, probably a minority felt that Maidana won. But if you look at the judges' scorecards, they split basically the last 5 rounds. You know, that's not something we've seen from Mayweather opponents, to be competitive all the way to the end, to provide that amount of action, that amount of excitement. You know, that's why we want to do it again.
Well, thank you very much. Flo says there's no more time, so Garcia-Salka before another day. We'll dance again.